This weekend saw us attend MollyCon for our third year in a row. Organised by Get Into Games and Mrs. Get Into Games, who you can follow on Instagram, MollyCon is a gathering of mostly Instagram board gamers who all descend on a semi-secluded village hall and play board games non-stop until the sun goes down. For us, it's about a 2-hour drive to get there. The time of the morning we leave, it's not too bad. The roads are pretty clear. So we made good time. Got there at 10 o'clock when the event started. We were the first ones through the door. This video is going to be going through the games that I played, or me and my wife played through the day. I'll talk partly about the games themselves and partly about the playthroughs that we had on the Saturday. So yeah, let's get started. So not long after we got there, more people started to arrive, and we all gathered around the table and decided let's get a game going. And we picked out. Well, I suggested in Vino Morte, but Get Into Games had a new reskin version that's not available yet called Whisky. It's basically the same game, but with a few extra touches. So in both games, you have a deck of cards, and there are either an alcoholic beverage. So in the original, it was wine, in this one, it's whiskey, or you have a bottle of poison. And the dealer dishes out the cards however they want to people face down. No one gets to see these cards. And when it comes round to your turn, you decide whether you're going to just take that drink or you're going to swap your drink with someone else. If you swap, you still don't look at your cards until the end of the round, so you don't know what's been swapped, and cards can be swapped by someone and swapped by someone else again later. If you flip your card and it's poison, you're out. Or in the case of Whisky, you actually have a life. You have an antidote bottle, a one use, which is really good for sort of prolonging player elimination. I think in the original game, you can get wiped out quite quick, and if the later rounds drag out, it can be quite boring for you. It was a fun game to set up because people kept coming in the door. Luckily, the game played, I think it played up to 10. So when we got to that amount, we just got going. It's an interesting game. It's very random because although the dealer hands out the cards and they know what's going where, you really have no information other than trying to guess whether that person is bluffing or not. And in a 10-player game, it's just pure luck whether you switch with someone and end up with a card. So I think somebody at one point swapped with me, and then we both ended up having whiskey anyway, so the swap was irrelevant. But it was a good opener for that event. I don't think I'd play it just on a small group game night, but for going to the maximum number, or a game when people are just sort of like coming in and don't know where to start and aren't sure about getting bigger games unpacked, I think it works quite well. And I don't have any information when this reskin is coming out, but I think Button Shy are doing it, so might be worth keeping an eye out for that. The next game we played was a massive step up. We got invited to a table for a 4-player game of Galileo Galilei, which is a newish game out from the designer of Scythe. So I've been wanting to try it. I wasn't sure if it was a game we were going to like, but I just wanted to try it to see. It's been getting a lot of praise online, and I just cut to the end now and say, absolutely loved it. So much so, we both loved it. So much so that I have a copy coming this week. We're desperate for it to arrive already because we want to play it again. It's a really clever little game where you've got like a quarter rondel. Your telescope basically is the sort of the rondel arrow, if you will. And you have a quarter circle of actions to choose from. And a lot of them are kind of similar. Like you have raising values on dice, and dice are used to sort of gain cards into a sort of tableau that you can use as another action. But you're using this telescope to sort of select your action, and you're limited to how far up and down you can go on your next turn. And there are set actions that everyone has, and then your tiles, you can randomly put them in, or you can tactically put them in. But then every time you use the action where your telescope is, I don't know, I'm keeping my hand like this the whole time, but when you use the action, the loose tile gets moved back down to the bottom of the quarter circle, and there's 2 spaces down there that you're not allowed to use. So you'll lose an action for one, you have to wait for it to kind of like shuffle back up again as the gaps are taken out. There's also, I can't remember what they were, I think they're Inquisitors, but we were just calling them Wizards the entire game for some reason. And there's a clever little mechanic with that as well. I don't think we played it exactly right, but these guys come over and there's 4 sort of rooms in your basement or something, and you're needing to move them from left to right. But every time you move them, it triggers a mechanic where another token on the board gets moved up or down depending on the value difference between where these things are positioned. It's hard to explain. It's much easier. In fact, no, it's hard to explain even when you're playing the game. It's probably the sort of most brain-burny part of the game I found. And it didn't really click until about halfway through the game. But yeah, it can affect what those wizards are worth at the end of the game, depending on where the track on the board has ended up. And then you've got the constellation cards that you're trying to either put tokens on there to use short-term abilities, or you can take the cards and put them into another area of your board. It felt heavy-ish, and there was a lot going on, but it felt a lot more interconnected than SETI did. I found SETI was that really really hurt my brain to keep track of, like when I needed to do something, I'd have to do this first to get the ability, the resources to be able to do that, and it was very tight with the resources and the multi-use cards as well, knowing when to use it for what part, because you might lose the card. But Galileo Galilei was a lot smoother, I think, and the fact that we went out and we've ordered it straight away, it just shows how much that first impression of that game was. So yeah, that was probably my second highlight of MollyCon. The first is still to come. Yeah, it's a good game. After that, I got commandeered to teach someone the White Castle. I believe that there was a game that they were interested in but never got to try. So we got pulled in to make up a 4-player game of that. White Castle was my favourite game last year. And it's a game that I like teaching games. Sometimes it's not a lack of confidence, but it's having to return to the rulebook sometimes for little key bits, how many resources people start with, things like that. The White Castle, for some reason, it's just a game I know how to play without touching the manual. And I seem to just have I have it in my head, a nice way to teach that game through the sections. It's a favourite of mine that probably makes it a lot easier to teach. So we did that, and the person that we were teaching picked up super fast, fell in love with the game. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up getting his own copy. And the little cherry on top as well was that he ended up winning the game by a single point. I was away from the table for one part when he had a move, but when I came back I was told it was an epic kind of almost Gang Chong Clever type move where he was doing this and then using the resources from that he got from that to do that, and got a couple of meeples down. So I'm glad he enjoyed it, because that's what it's all about, teaching games. You want people to enjoy the game, enjoy the experience, and a good sign of that is if they end up buying their own copy. So fingers crossed he did, because it's a fantastic game. After lunch, we found somebody else who was looking for a game to play, so we sat down for a 3-player game of Let's Go to Japan. This is such a relaxing game. I think that's why when somebody suggested, what about this one? That's why we sort of said yes, because we'd had 2 big crunchy sort of games, and it was just nice to sort of lay back and just chill with Let's Go to Japan. It's just a simple card drafting. There's very limited player interaction. That only comes from when you drawing cards and selecting the ones you want. What's left behind just goes to your opponent. So you can, I suppose you could hate draft, but I don't. I just take what I want and you get whatever, and it might be good for you, it might not be. I'm not really looking at your board. But it's just a nice drafting game where you are gathering cards in your tableau in front of you. You've got a 6-day week, Monday to Saturday, and you're taking cards to plan out what activities you're going to be doing on your trip to Japan. You can have up to 3 cards, although you can add cards with a walk action. You end up to have up to 3 cards per day, and you're trying to match symbols. There's a symbol for doing food activities, for doing like relaxing walking activities, to go shopping, and you're trying to match the cards you're drafting to those ones to gain extra benefits. But you're also trying not to travel around Japan too much, because there's 2 locations, there's Tokyo and Kyoto, but you need train tokens to travel between those 2 locations. So if you have Tokyo for 3 days and then on the 2nd day you switch to Kyoto, you need a train token right between those 2, otherwise it's going to cost you minus points. So you're trying to, in fact I did actually travel 3 times on this one. I never really go above 1, maybe 2 travel, and that's only if I get sort of forced into it, if I have to go back to one of the 2 cities I went to at the beginning. My wife actually played, I think she had, I forget which colour's which now, but I think she had her entire week in Kyoto except for 1 activity on the Wednesday was in Tokyo. So she had to train it out, do the morning activity, train back again, and the rest was in Kyoto. I've never seen her do that before. She usually travels quite a bit. But yeah, it was nice. We've also only played Let's Go to Japan at 2, so it was nice to have an extra player. But like I say, the interaction isn't really there. So having that 3-player game now, I know that we're not missing much by going to higher player counts. So yeah, we can just sit and enjoy that one at 2 and not worry about chasing down higher player counts. But yeah, that was just a really nice relaxing game to play just after lunch. We went back to small box card games after that, and we played 3 back-to-back games of Trio. This is a game that we were taught by someone else at our last visit to one of these meetups. Trio is a bit like Flip 7. It's just a very simple card game. It's great for bringing up between big games. It's very simple to play. It's very simple to teach, sorry. And in this game you have cards with values 1 to 12, and you get shuffled out a hand of cards. Depending on player count, you get a certain number. And then there's a set number of cards in the middle, again, depending on player count. And it's a mix of, I would say it's a mix of Go Fish and the memory game. So you're trying to get players to reveal cards from their hands, and you're able to sort of reveal cards in the middle, which everyone can see when you do that as well. Everyone can see all the cards when they're requested to be revealed. But you can only ask for a card, the lowest or highest card in someone's hand. So when you get dealt the cards, you put them all into numerical order. Some of us might put them in a different orientation than other people are used to, and they might get questioned about that. But I do things how I like, which apparently is backwards. That's just me. You do you. But you have your cards in your hand in numerical order, highest to lowest, lowest to highest. And so when someone says, show me your lowest card, you show your lowest card. And you're trying to get a trio. You're trying to get 3 of the same number. You might even have one of those cards in your hand, so you can call on yourself to reveal a card as well. And what's fun about it is sometimes you get confident, or you're just like sort of rooting around trying to find information, and it can give information away to other players. So you can look at one of my cards, might be the number you're after, but then when you look in the middle, it's a different number, so it ends your turn. But then the next player around might have that card that you're hunting for, so they know now, well, there's one there, I'm guessing you've got one, and then they can claim that trio. There's another win condition as well, where if you just, so you need 3 trios to win the game, but if you win with 3 sevens, it's just an automatic win. You could just get that one, just get all 3 sevens, and you've done it first time, which actually happened on a game we played later on in the day. We had a 6-player game. And it's the first time I've ever seen someone with a trio. I think because it's a higher player count, you have less cards in your hand, so it's easy to get to that that middle section. When we play 3, I think you have 9 cards in your hand, so you have a lot of cards buffered either side of that. It's very difficult for a 7 to be your highest or lowest card. So that, I've not seen that victory before. But yeah, it's just simple. It's so simple to teach. It's just, you're looking for these cards, you ask highest, lowest, done. So we played 3 games of that back to back. And then, like I say, we played another game at 6-player later on. I highly recommend it. It's just a fan. Like Flip 7, it's just a really good card game to fit in between the bigger stuff. As we got to the end of the afternoon, it's what I would call the main event. It started on our first MollyCon back in 2023, and we've done this on every visit to these meetups now, is together with Board Game Waffle, who brings his copy, he, myself and my wife sit down and set up Scythe, and then we just open invitation to anyone that wants to come along. And it's been a running joke that we've always been trying for the 7-player game, because he has the expansion that allows that as well. And we've always been trying for it, and people joke about they haven't got time to play, it's going to be too long. And people have always, well, I've always wanted to try it, but I'm not sure, and they kind of go off and play something else. And I think our first year we did 5-player, we managed 2 4-players, but I'm happy to say that this year, and this is my absolute highlight of MollyCon 2025, we managed a 7-player game of Scythe, and it was everything I'd hoped it would be. Despite the fact that all I did for the entire game was hide in my corner. I played as, I think it's the black and gold faction, I think it's Saxony Empire. So when we sort of went around the table and announced our abilities, and I said, you know, I can get all my stars just by fighting, it made everyone quite nervous, especially my 2 neighbours. And I didn't get a single, I didn't partake in a single fight for the entire game. I just sat back and I built up my oil to do all the upgrades, and then once I'd done that, I just powered through with all the wood and metal I got to get my mechs out and get my buildings out. and I did pretty well, enough to actually surprisingly come joint second. And I covered just 3 hexes at the end of the game. In fact, I covered 3 hexes for most of the game. I'd only got 3 or 4 of my workers out. But I just got to sit back and also just watch as my wife tore through the boards, popping up through the tunnels, and then getting taken out by other players. And there was, I mean, it's 7 players, so there was going to be more battles than I'm used to seeing at the lower player counts. But yeah, it was all going nicely. Everyone was sort of setting in their positions and just happy, gathering resources. And then maybe about halfway through, and this was I think it was a 2.5 hour game. It ended up being at 7 player, so not as bad as some people dreaded. But it just, I really do think that my wife was involved in the first fight, but after that it was just domino effect of either people coming into the space that was just one, or there's some other stuff going on the other side of the board. And I think everyone was involved in at least one fight except for me. But yeah, and Board Game Waffle, who brings his copy, he's painted the miniatures. They look fantastic. He picked up the deluxe resources at Expo, I think, this year. So each time we play, the game just gets better and better looking as well. And I'm thinking maybe, if he's watching this, maybe next year we play with the Winds of Gambit expansion as well, and just keep adding more and more content into our plays of Scythe. But yeah, getting that. I look forward to playing the game every year at MollyCon anyway. It's always nice. We get different people in every time. But I'm just so happy now that I've finally ticked off the 7 player version, the 7 player playthrough of Scythe. Absolute gem. We rounded out our visit with a couple of games of Anomia, using the 2.0 version, which I'd never done before. We own the original one. I think it's somewhere behind me on the shelves. I absolutely adore Anomia just because of the chaos it brings to the table, and the laughs brought on by people's either their silly guesses of the words that they're trying to get, or when they misread cards, which did happen in our game as well, and they call up something that makes no sense to anyone but them because they think. I think there was one time when my wife said a country, and then somebody else pointed out that it said county on the card. And so things like that. It's one of those games where I don't think it really matters who wins. I think it's just a fun activity. And it works so well for us after a heavy game like Scythe. We all gathered around and just sat down. It's getting late into the evening and just the giggles come. I will say I wasn't keen on the 2.0 version. So the original version it uses coloured symbols like a plus or like wavy lines or an equal sign or something like that. It's very clear. The card is plain white with the colour symbol in the middle, and then the words just in black font. Very easy to read. But the 2.0 version, they've done like a sort of a grey and white. This sounds very nitpicky, but this is just I really like the game, and it's one of the very few games I'm quite good at confidently, and I did abysmally, and I couldn't work out why until the end. But there's like a black and grey colouring to the back of the card. The symbols are like cartoony versions. There's like a cartoony lightning bolt and a cartoony dice, and then the font is it's an all right font, but it's kind of like arched as well. And I just couldn't read the words on cards across the table. I had the worst game of Anomia I've ever had in my life. So it's one of my favourite party games, but I definitely don't think I'll gravitate or be eager to play the 2.0 version again. I think I'll stick with the original. But yeah, it was a fun, relaxing way to wind down. We did play that other game of Trio after that before we left, but Anomia was our sort of final real game of the MollyCon meetup. And it was just it was just silly nonsense. It works perfectly for that. And that's it. That's the end of my MollyCon 2025 roundup. I hope you've enjoyed listening to my thoughts on the games I played on that eventful Saturday. It was a fantastic day, as I keep saying. I really enjoyed not just the games we played. I enjoyed the company. Every time we go, we sort of make new friends and we sort of build on the relationships we've had with people that went to previous ones. It's always a bit sad when we get to the end of a night and we realise who we haven't managed to play games with. There's just not enough time in the world to play all the games with all the people. But we had a great time, so I just want to thank everyone that attended and did sit down with us and play games, or just sit down and chat with us. It was great fun, and I am already chomping at the bit for the next one. Maybe we can do 2 a year going forward. Hint, hint. It'd be fantastic. But yeah, if you'd like to follow me on Instagram, I'm at alwaysplayblue. And I also have the website alwaysplayblue.com, where you can go to I have a monthly blog where I just talk about the games I've been playing, the new games I've been playing, and I do weekly reviews on there as well. So yeah, if you can head over, that'd be fantastic. And if you also could like and subscribe to these videos if you want to see more. And I will be back for the next one. Take care.